So, Michael, I know you like to keep up to date with what's going on around the world in terms of news. And
yeah. The only thing I don't like to keep up to date on is deaths, celebrity deaths. So I don't know what you've got to tell me about, but that's just the one blind spot for me.
Yes, that makes sense, because when I told you that Joel Schumacher, who directed the movie we are about to review, had died this week, you were surprised, and you did not know.
Yeah.
Which is quite bad on your part, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, yeah. Well, I'm tendering my resignation. Is that what people say?
Yeah, that's what people say.
I'm doing that.
And I think you should. I have a little story about Joel Schumacher that was shared in light of his death.
Is he going to get me too? Come on, have some mercy on him. Can't he rest in peace?
It's kind of the opposite, because of course Joel Schumacher was gay. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. And he did a interview. I don't know what publication this is in, but it was some years ago, and he talks about how many people he's had sex with. So the interviewer starts off by saying, "Your friend Liz Smith said you referred to yourself as a sexual outlaw. Have you ever guessed the number of partners you've had?" And Schumacher replies, "It would be in the double-digit thousands, but that is not unusual." Double-digit thousands? You mean like 2,000 or 3,000?
Hold on, surely if it's more than 10,000, though, because it would be like double digits and then thousands.
Exactly. If you let me finish, Schumacher said, "No, that's not double digits, that's single digits." "Oh, so 20,000 or 30,000, somewhere in there." "Or 10 or 20, Schumacher replied. "I've never kissed and told about anybody who gives me the favour of sharing a bed with me." Wow, so there you go. Schumacher has slept with up to 20,000 men. He is the gay version of Wilt Chamberlain.
Schumacher, more like a
No, you can't say that. You're going to have to bleep that out. Bleep that out.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that will come out in the near and distant past, we give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke, and this week we are celebrating the 25-year anniversary of the release of Batman Forever by watching Showgirls. No, not really, we're watching Batman Forever. Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Batman Forever?
Sure thing, Michael, and as was mentioned in the cold open, Joel Schumacher has unfortunately passed away, and this is a complete coincidence that we are doing this on the same week he did. So that wasn't planned or anything.
And we definitely had nothing to do with his death, because we wanted... Oh, yeah,
for sure.
Just it's not like we wanted it to be trending at the time, so we decided to kill him. Just definitely not.
It's completely untrue. Nothing more false has ever been said.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Batman Forever is in 1995, as you say, 25 years since it was released. American superhero film directed by Joel Schumacher, R.I.P., and produced by Tim Burton, based on the DC Comics character Batman. It is a standalone sequel to the 1992 film Batman Returns and the third installment of Warner Bros.' initial Batman film series. Yes, of course. They did keep on getting worse, didn't they?
Yeah, it really was diminishing returns. It's so sad.
Yes. As we mentioned, directed by Joel Schumacher, the story by Lee Batchelor and Janet Scott Batchelor. The characters appear in DC Comics as well, Michael. Did you know that?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I thought that they just appeared in the DC Cinematic Universe, and Joel Schumacher, Tim Burton, I guess, had a time machine. Guys, I've seen this new thing, Cinematic Universes, and I'm going to pick the most successful one, the DC one.
If he only was 20 years later on, he would have really hit the jackpot.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The Marvel one. Anyway, Batman Forever stars Val Kilmer, Tommy Lee Jones, Jim Carrey, Nicole Kidman, so many famous people here, Chris O'Donnell, Michael Gough, and Pat Hingle. It was released on June the 16th, 1995 in the United States, so just over 25 years ago. And Michael, can you tell me what the budget was for Batman Forever?
I'd assume they'd be willing to sink quite a bit into this, but I also feel like, this was back in the day when studios weren't as mental with the amount of money they put into things, so I think maybe what seems to me like a lot would be 50 million. 50.
Double it.
100 million, blimey.
Exactly. 100 million they sung. I mean, there was quite a lot of set pieces.
Neon ain't cheap.
Yeah, exactly. There was quite a lot of action set pieces in this, and there was apparently a load of stuff like 40 minutes, which was cut out, which was meant to be in the final movie, but was cut. So yeah, I'm not really surprised knowing that the budget was $100 million. But what was the box office intake, Michael? How much did it make?
I think it probably made its money back, based on the fact that obviously they made a second one, so maybe it made like 220 million.
Well, that wouldn't really be making its money back.
Yeah. Because no. Yeah. I forgot about the old marketing thing. Let's go for 320 million.
336.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Once with that little prompt, I got pretty close, and I'm counting it.
Well, you shouldn't really.
I shouldn't. Yeah, because I was wrong.
Yeah, you were. But anyway, so those are the stats and the people who starred in it. But Michael, did you like Batman Forever?
No.
No. Wow. Yeah, I have to say no as well.
Yeah, I think if I was trying to be generous, I'd say maybe there was something kind of sort of fun about it, but then that would also just be sort of a lie. So
yes. Yeah, that's the thing. It's different and it isn't boring, but is it like so bad it's good, that kind of thing? No, not really. It's just quite shit, unfortunately. But anyway, let's go through it. How many nitpicks do you have, Michael?
I've got, count them. I actually do need to count them. 6.
You have 6, okay.
6. How many have you got?
I have got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so you get to go first.
I will go first, yeah. I actually had more, but I decided to put that in other sections.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I was racking up so many nitpicks, I was like, right, this needs a whole section on its own. Okay, so, first nitpick, that Gotham has a Statue of Liberty, apparently. This is quite weird, because obviously...
They've got loads of other statues, too.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's not really why.
Okay, well, that's what I thought, actually. When I saw... See, I didn't put it as a nitpick, but when I saw them crash into the Statue of Liberty, I was like, hold on a minute, so they've got, like, look, that massive other statue, which you'd think would be kind of the in-universe replacement for the Statue of Liberty, and the Statue of Liberty. But yeah, what's your reason? Was this movie
produced by Antifa?
Oh, yeah.
All these statues being destroyed, yeah. No, I mean, it's just does New York not exist in the DC universe? Maybe that's the case, I'm not sure.
Well, I thought that, like, Metropolis was the more direct corollary. Is that the word I'm looking for New York?
But, well, you think that, but back in the day, like, New York isn't perceived as New York is now, I think. I think there's a different perception.
Because of the Simpsons episode when they go to New York. And
yeah, it's
Homer
more
hates
perceived
it.
like that. Yeah, exactly. It was considered kind of grimy and dirty. It's a bit different now. But anyway, next nitpick. Why would GNN keep that's the news network, keep broadcasting Two-Face at the circus? Like, surely they'd switch everything off. And the second part of that nitpick is, apparently that's what news networks do. They broadcast circuses at night. I mean, I can understand maybe like a clip, because all the famous people are there, but like just broadcasting a circus live, I don't think that's a common.
Why would you even go to the circus then? You can watch it at home. Just watch the news.
Exactly. Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, why would you go to the circus full stop? It doesn't seem very fun.
Well, I don't know. Those Graysons were performing some incredible moves. Don't know about you,
that's
but
true, yeah.
I'd like to see that. Yeah. Anyway, next nitpick. How did Enigma, his invention, get past the FCC? I think that's what it's called in America, right? The FCC?
Yeah, the Federal Communications Certification Commission,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's bigger than a nitpick. Because, it's just so ridiculous. But it's such a weird movie, and so little attention is paid to this. That's the thing. This incredible invention that's going to change the world and change Gotham and everything, and it's given like a minute's attention. And then we move on to the next thing. But yeah, I thought I'd put that as a nitpick. And my last one, at the end, of course, Jim Carrey is insane because Batman used his device against him, so he can't remember anything. He thinks he's the Batman, and so everyone's relieved. Bruce Wayne's identity has remained a secret, but surely Two-Face's assistants know that Bruce Wayne is still the Batman, right? Like, surely they know?
Oh, yeah. The henchwomen.
Yeah, the henchwomen, exactly.
The henchpersons.
Unless all his henchmen died as well. Those people in those black and red masks. Yeah. I have to think that Bruce Wayne's identity is getting out somehow. From this situation. But anyway, Michael, that is my 4 nitpicks. What are yours?
Okay, I just remembered I also have a lit pick. But it's a very tame lit pick. It's really, stretching the... Well, I guess it's kind of true to the definition of a lit pick, and a lit pick in theory is something we like, but it doesn't really affect our rating of the film. Just like a nitpick is something that we dislike, but doesn't really... Or a mistake. Anyway, so number 1, there is some noticeably bad CGI, especially at the beginning with the weird capsule thing falling. And again, I wasn't really bothered by it, but I did notice it. Why have the boss, or kind of guy who's not really the boss, but like the supervisor who gets killed, why have him write a suicide note and then also leave a villain's calling card? Kind of seems like, one of those things cancels out the other. Like, you want to make it look like he killed himself, but then also you have a
why would Bruce Wayne think they're connected?
Well, I would think logically, I mean, if you're the world's greatest detective, you maybe go, oh, someone killed themselves. And also, like, someone died yesterday, and here's the villains. I don't know, maybe I'm the
he's got
world's
a crazy
greatest
busy
detective.
life.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's like shit like that happens every day, you know.
So, okay, here's my one. So, does Batman not have surveillance outside of his mansion? Because I kind of thought that was quite a common thing for people to have, but obviously Edward Nygma shows up, attaches the little card clue thing to the gates, and then goes off. This one, okay, like, I think this one's maybe my worst one, but when What's-Her-Face Chase, Meridian Chase, like, basically says, he's possibly a homicidal wacko based on just some cryptic riddle. I was like, that's nonsense. Like, obviously, you know, in reality, if you found, like, some cryptic riddle, we'd be like, oh, the person who wrote this must be potentially a murderer. You're just like, oh, that's weird. You know, I mean, obviously, you know,
to be honest, all of this psychology about criminals is complete fucking nonsense, so that doesn't surprise me.
And then also, Two-Face happens to show up at the circus when... And maybe this is wrong, actually. Maybe see, I realise, actually, I could be wrong about this. It might be that it was pre-published. But I was thinking that Two-Face happened to show up at the circus on the night that Bruce Wayne was showing up. Maybe it was actually because it was like, oh, you know, there's going to be loads of famous people there. So
yeah, that's right. I had that. I was like, oh yeah, he makes sense if he wants to get Batman.
Yes. So yeah, I did actually. So there we go. I caught that one out just in the nick of time after I'd said it. This one, like, the Batcave is protected by a locked door.
That's a good point, yeah.
Just like, hey, why is this door locked? So that's my secret evil basis. It's just like, I mean, whatever. Obviously, I assume there's some other security thing. That seemed to be a revolving door bookcase as well. But it just seems
but you don't need to press a code or anything. It's
I know,
just,
yeah. You just go, anyway, so my one lit pick, this is the smallest thing I think there's ever been a lit pick. I like the way the music is substantially more eclectic than you typically get in these Batman films. Like, they're playing all sorts of music. They play some punk music. They play some, like, fun pop music. They play some, I don't know, probably some other kind of music. And I was just like, you know, like some pop rock, some grunge. I'm just like, oh, they're really playing some weird music. And they don't do that in any of the other films in this series. And I was like, oh, so that's weird, but this one's fun.
Yeah, okay, that's a decent lit pick, I guess. So yeah, I guess now let's get into the actual movie, into the actual plot. So the plot of Wikipedia, and this kind of, I think, shows the problem here. It's about a paragraph long. I'll read it now. The plot focuses on Batman trying to stop Two-Face and the Riddler in their villainous scheme to extract confidential information from all the minds in Gotham City. That's really just the Riddler's plan.
Yeah.
And use it to learn Batman's identity and bring the city under their control. In the process, he gains allegiance, this is Batman, from a young orphan circus acrobat named Dick Grayson, who becomes his sidekick, Robin, and meets and develops feelings for psychiatrist Dr. Chase Meridian, which brings him to the point to decide if he will lead a normal life or if he is destined to fight crime as Batman forever. So yeah, that's one of the things we'll get into, you know, that end point, which I think is quite decent thing for Batman to decide in a movie. But yeah, I guess overall, that was a pretty... Here's the thing, there isn't a real plot to this movie. And it starts off by saying the plot focuses on Batman trying to stop Two-Face and Riddler, but this movie is kind of all over the place. There's quite a few main characters, like obviously Batman and Robin and the two villains, and also Chase Meridian. They all have an important part to play, and you really are like in the middle of the movie, just going from one place to another, back to another storyline. It doesn't really feel like a contained movie. There is so many threads going on. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it really does feel like things happen and that's sort of it. And there's not really... I mean, I think one thing you mentioned, because I actually wrote under the plot, but I think it's kind of just emblematic of the thing, which I can understand as nitpick for you. The fact that the whole mind control thing, I actually wrote under the plot, is that was just blasted through. And you think, like, you could have had a real... And, you know, you think about the Spider-Man films and how... the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, and how at least the first two were kind of about this crazy scientist who has a scheme, and most of the film is kind of following the crazy scientist with a scheme. Obviously, in the case of the Green Goblin, it's his little plan to make the super soldier serum, and then he gets revenge on people who blocked him out of the organization. And then in the case of Dr. Octopus, he's got that whole thing with fusion that he wants to do because he's crazy. In this version, but it's like they spend a decent amount of time kind of going through it, and like a lot of what they do is very directly motivated. Like, you know, he goes to rob the banks and needs some money to pay for it. In this case, it's just like it just feels like this massive thing which could have had ages dedicated to it, like, for example, dealing with the FCC, dealing with, like, they could have had some crazy production studio guy who's like, oh yeah, this looks like great, I'm going to make a show and it's going to be on this thing, or whatever else. They could have had some quirky things going on, but instead they were just like, nope, yeah, it's done. They've beam into your mind. We're done. Just needed a scene. You can beam it into your mind now. There you go.
Yeah, that's the thing, because there's so much in there. They have to rush past stuff like that. And it's crazy that this movie was originally 2 hours and 40 minutes long. But yeah, I mean, it is... You think about the superhero movies, what is their downfall is they stuff too much into it. You think about how much or how many characters are in the comic books, and therefore you think, okay, well, we'll have all these characters in there, to, I guess, make the world feel more realistic. But you can have it done really well, actually. I'm thinking about The Dark Knight, when there is a load of characters in there who are from Batman's, universe. And like, this movie has a lot, and even the next movie, Batman and Robin, has a lot. And that's where, obviously, there's other reasons why this movie isn't good, but that is part of the downfall. Like, you just constantly trying to stuff everything in from this universe, like trying to fit Robin in alongside what's going on, for example. And yeah, it's just not the best if you want to tell a coherent story about Batman. But yeah, I guess, shall we get into the main plot threads?
Let's do it.
First one, quite simple. Two-Face and Riddler, they want to kill the Batman. Two-Face wants to kill him because of a court thing, which is kind of stupid. And the Riddler wants to get one up on Bruce Wayne. And obviously, eventually they find out they're the same person. I mean, the thing is, it's not really a plot. The Riddler kind of does some, plot stuff with, he now creates a company that is, revolutionizing television, which, as you mentioned, just gets skipped past quite quickly. But yeah, Two-Face really doesn't do anything in this movie. He just shows up every
Two-Face is like what Bane is in Batman and Robin.
Yeah,
just someone just walks out.
He just shows up every 15 minutes to try and kill the Batman or rob people and do evil stuff. That's what he does continuously throughout the movie.
Yeah,
and then obviously we get a few scenes as well of Batman talking to Nicole Kidman, discussing his childhood and how he's a tortured individual. Yeah. That's the thing. That right there it's about an hour in, I'd say, where it starts, where Bruce Wayne's talking to Nicole Kidman about repressing memories. He wants to be normal. And an actual interesting dilemma is proposed. Is he going to give up and have a normal life with Nicole Kidman or be Batman forever? And he chooses both at the end, which is a kind of a cop-out. There's something I'll praise in this movie. It's interesting that Batman has to decide whether... Because, they go into... Of course, Chase Meridian, played by Nicole Kidman's a therapist. She's a psychologist. They go into his mind, which is what you really have to do if you're going to get this kind of theme about should Batman stay Batman, because of course he's started doing this because he wants revenge or he feels guilt or whatever, so he's a pretty fucked up guy. And so therefore, if you're going to try and coax him out of this, you got to have a psychologist in the midst trying to really pinpoint why he does what he does and if he actually wants to continue with it. And like I said, he does decide in the end to do both, which it is kind of cop out, but you know what, I'll give the movie credit because it is actually interesting. What do you think? Do you agree with me?
No, yeah, I think that it is... I mean, the thing is, I guess you could say it is the classic Batman debate of, you can't keep doing this forever, Bruce, man. And I think the problem is it is a bit of a dark, gritty thing to have to deal with, which doesn't really work with the overall thing going on in this film. It is definitely an identifiable through line, but it is a bit well, and also he does seem he seems a bit too young and sprightly, and the whole thing seems a bit too goofy, which I think kind of doesn't really work with are you going to keep doing this forever? Obviously in, the more conventional dark Batmans, of course, Christopher Nolan's and a lot of the comic books and things like that, and the 1960s show, no, not really, it makes sense that someone you can't keep doing this forever. These sick, twisted guys like the Joker they're gonna get to you eventually. But in this version, just what you're gonna deal with Two-Face showing up and going, I'm gonna get you, Batman, and then running off. You're gonna deal with that forever. Sounds kind of annoying.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Yeah, it's there's the Batman scenes where it's quite dark and there's bats flying at him and he's running away from his father's wake and it's quite depressing. And the next scene it cuts to fucking Jim Carrey in a brightly coloured spandex onesie just jumping around. There is a bit of a difference in tone there. But again, that is why this movie is bad, because of that. But I will say, I mean, here's the thing: you consider The Dark Knight that does touch on that topic. Oh, sorry, The Dark Knight Rises. I'm sorry, that does touch on that topic of whether he's got to continue it. But like Batman and Robin doesn't do that. So that's one thing that this movie has on Batman and Robin, I guess. I mean, it's not the best thing to be compared to, I guess, but it's a sequel, so you have to say, well, that is something that is like, okay, yeah, it's better than Batman and Robin. There you go. Faint praise it may be, but it's praise nonetheless. Shall we get on to the campiness, Michael? No?
Yes, yeah, let's talk about that. My favourite bit, it happens very early on, is when the guy goes, "Oh no, it's boiling acid!" And it's just like, it literally feels like something from, like Austin Powers. Yeah. It's just so ridiculous. Like, oh no, it's like acid. I mean, it's just such a crazy thing to use.
And how does he know? How does he know it's boiling acid? Like, it's very warm. How does he know it's acid? Is it boiling his feet, like, right away? Yeah. And then I would suspect his reaction
maybe it smells like vinegar.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's like, it's technically acid. It smells a bit like citrusy.
Oh no, it's boiling acid. And, like, it cuts to his face as well. Like, the camera zooms in on his face as he says it. Just an absolutely incredible line.
It was so goofy. The best bit of the film, hands down. It was goofy.
Yeah, I know. Well, there's the bit later on where this guy goes, "Oh, look, it's Batman," when he jumps through the ceiling. Do you remember that? The guy's standing next to Nicole Kidman.
Yes, I do remember that. It was good. There was one bit where they tried to poke fun at it, which is when, I think it was trying to poke fun, where Robin's like, "Holy rusted metal, Batman." And then Batman's like, "What?" And he's like, "This metal, it's rusted and it's got holes in it." But, like, obviously the joke is that holy rusted metal sounds like something that they'd say in, like, the 60s show. I think so. It's supposed to be a joke, whereas in reality it's not. It's actually, it is. It's literally holy.
Yeah, I'd say that's kind of funny. I enjoyed that.
I liked it. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
so sometimes they were sort of self-aware with it, I guess, maybe. So that's fun.
Yeah, this is from Wikipedia, by the way. Batman Forever's tone is significantly different from the previous installments, becoming more family-friendly, since Warner Brothers believe that Batman Returns failed to outgross its predecessor due to parents' complaints about the film's violence and dark overtones. How much things have changed in 30 years, man. Unbelievable. Schumacher eschewed the dark dystopian atmosphere of the Burton films by drawing inspiration from the Batman comic books Dick Sprang era, as well as the 60s television series, and that really came out in the next one, didn't it? After Keaton chose not to reprise his role, which, by the way, Keaton saw the script and turned it down, which is good because Michael Keaton would not fit in with this particular Batman universe, that is for sure. William Baldwin and Ethan Hawke were considered as replacement before Val Kilmer joined the cast, and obviously that's why they went in this campy, just sort of light direction, because of the fact that the previous movies were a bit dark and gritty, and obviously it's like that Thanos thing with Batman. You couldn't live with your failure. What did that bring you back to me? And that's Dark Gritty Batman movie saying that line, because of course that is The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, and even Batman Begins. Those are like as dark and gritty superhero movies as you can get. But yeah, so anyway, this movie, obviously, it is campy. We have to talk about the villains. They're particularly campy. Then there's these weird scenes like the when Robin is doing some laundry.
Okay, that was goofy. I like that.
Yeah, just scenes which, of course, would never fit in, and villains and characters which would never fit in with the previous movies. So, what do you prefer, Michael? Do you prefer the campy version that Joel Schumacher brought, or do you think you prefer the original Tim Burton?
That's the thing. Like, I would say I dislike these films more based on the fact that they are in the same universe as the Tim Burton films. Because it's like and I'm pretty sure that I would expect that the disappointment for people, especially fans of the Tim Burton films, would have meant that people disliked watching this film more when it was first out in cinemas than they did with Batman and Robin. Because like the jump from Batman Returns to this would have just been, would have given a lot of people some whiplash. And I do like films when franchises have consistent tones. So I will say that I would forgive this film more if it had been its own thing. And which it basically was, but it was just kind of, it might as well have been. But either way, I'll say that I definitely do prefer the Tim Burton version.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Joel Schumacher has passed away this week, so there has been, articles written about him. And I've got up an article about the Batman Forever, or his Batman movies in general, obviously, because he did two, Batman and Robin and Batman Forever. And I'm just going to read a bit from the article. The person who wrote this says, At the time of the Batman film's release, they were seen as splashy, campy, and far too hyper-coloured for films about the generally brooding Bruce Wayne. People of this opinion, though, have slim memories of the Batman TV show from the 60s. I'd say to that, things can develop. The 60s aren't the same as the 90s. There were digs at Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze and Jim Carrey's Riddler. The fact that Batman and Robin both had suits with prominent nipples became a well-trod joke. Batman Forever had a 39% score on Rotten Tomatoes, and Batman and Robin had an 11. As news of Schumacher's passing has spread, though, that's not how the movies are being remembered. I guess that makes sense. Folks are marvelling at his suiting up montages, praising for having the insight to cast Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl. There are kudos for characters who would become beloved by drag queens, and recognition that his cinematic colour palette is the forebearer of what's since become known as bisexual lighting. To that end, there has also been recognition that a lot of the heat his films took was rooted in homophobia. Schumacher was gay, and nearly all of his films read as queer. In retrospect, and through the lens of camp, his Batman movies now feel like masterpieces for a completely different kind of movie fan. Okay, right.
I don't know. Luke, I think identity politics was a mistake. That's what I'm hearing from this. It's good because he's gay.
Yeah, here's the thing. Does camp work with Batman? The author of this article says it worked in the 60s. Possibly. I don't think it did because those...
Well, that's the thing, yeah. The 60s is almost like a completely different thing.
I know, it's a completely different era, but looking back, those do not hold up. That's what I'd say as well to that.
Yeah, I don't think they don't hold up as Batman films. I think they hold up as, funny... Because that's the thing, there were loads of other films around that, or, TV shows around that time that were just, goofy hero things. There was something called, I can't remember what it was. It was called, The Green Hornet. Do you remember... Have you ever heard that show, The Green Hornet? And that was, around the 60s. And it was just about, this detective superhero kind of guy. So they just loved their films like that back in those days.
So here's the thing. I think with a character like Batman, campy doesn't work. And I guess this then is preference. Do I enjoy campy movies? I don't. But of course some people do. And I can imagine you can't just criticise a movie for being campy on the face of it because, that could be, I guess, homophobic. But again, I don't think that jives with Batman personally. That's why I don't think that was the right tone. And at the end, when the author says, in retrospect, his Batman movies now feel like masterpieces, just sit through them.
Lean into the microphone and say wrong.
Yeah, just because they... just because they, were, I guess, Joel Schumacher was gay, and, they were, I guess, as the author says, they read as queer, does not mean that they were masterpieces, even though they could have been original and they could have been the first. There's not a lot of films that read as queer. Does not mean they were good. And I think, as you said, Michael, identity politics, it should be crushed with an iron fist. That's the only thing you can say after reading this paragraph.
I just think I was going to say something ironically, really. I just think these gay pride types, they've already got musicals. I just don't understand why they have to steal our precious comic books.
Yeah, I mean, come on, leave comic books to the straight white males. That's
exactly,
that's all we're asking. Come on. But yeah, so I guess, obviously he's died, so people are saying, hey, these movies, they were good, right? They were good. They did some original things. And I would say yes to the originality, although I didn't agree with the decision. But were they good? No, they were not good. And unfortunately, when people pass away, it is common to say things were better than they actually were. But that is not the case when it comes to these Batman movies, especially not Batman and Robin. You watched that, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I watched it, and
it's not a masterpiece, right?
I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, and when I was a kid, I did like it. I mean, I do think kids will like these films because kids are idiots. So yeah. I guess also kids and people who write cultural think pieces.
For Wired. That's what I'm getting. Who wrote this article, by the way? It's, by the way, the title is Joel Schumacher and the Non-Crisis of Infinite Batmans. That's what it's called. Who wrote this? It doesn't say. Oh, it says right at the top. It's Angela Watercutter. Wow, what a name.
That's a pretty cool name.
That is a pretty cool name.
I'm now more inclined to take their opinion seriously.
Yes, these movies are actually masterpieces. Before, I don't really agree, but that name, Watercutter, I've never heard that before. Anyway, so shall we move on to the characters then? Because as mentioned, there's not really much of a plot, so we need to really delve into the characters. Because it's just really characters doing a bunch of stuff. And we shall start off with Tommy Lee Jones. Is that right,
Yes, I've got Tommy Lee Jones first too. What a coincidence.
Go on then. What do you have to say about him?
Okay, I will start with one positive, which is... Actually, I'm going to start... I think it's annoying that, obviously, we didn't get... I mean, there's loads of examples of this, but, Harvey Dent was set up in the Tim Burton films, and then we just get this completely foreign guy, as in, just we have no idea. He doesn't feel anyway like a continuation of the Harvey Dent that's said in the last few films. But I will say one thing I did like about him. I did like his spiel about how he says, one man succeeds, another man fails. And, one man has a nice wife and kids, and the other man dies alone. I don't know what he said. But he says, and what is it all about? It's about luck. And then he says, it's all
That's why we should all be socialists, right?
Yeah, a coin flip is the only justice in the world. I think there's kind of I like it. I actually did like that speech, and I feel like maybe I was reading into it a bit, but I do think it's an interesting philosophy. It's also very, and one of the greatest, most well-written scenes of all time in terms of tension is seen in No Country for Old Men when he walks into the convenience store and he tells the guy to call a coin toss. Basically, it's the exact same scene,
Oh, yeah.
You've been putting it up your whole life, and now it's either heads or tails. But yeah, basically the idea that ultimately nothing's based on... And, to be fair, they could have done even more of that, like the fact that Batman inherited wealth and that basically Batman is a child of privilege. If they really wanted to, they could have done that. So
that would have
that's
made the
potential.
movie a masterpiece if they did that right.
I know, yeah, that would have been great. But ultimately the idea of... And I think it's basically Two-Face's logic that we also see in the Nolan films, and I would assume it probably goes right back to the comics of things that happen in this world aren't fair, things happen based on random chance, and therefore the only real justice is random chance. Bingo, bango, bongo, I'm going to flip a coin. Which is good. I think, honestly, the only big
His
thing
character
that
is
me,
interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I think a Two-Face origin story would actually be good, and obviously we get that in the Nolan films, and I feel like Tim Burton was probably building up to that. So it's a bit annoying that he just appears already with his ideology completely formed. I think the story of somebody coming to have that ideology would be interesting. There we go. That's my one positive thing to say about Two-Face.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. It is an ideology, and I joked before about that's why we should be socialists. But he does say true. Like, if you are born in a poor family in Bangladesh or Indonesia or I don't know any other country that has a lot of poverty, and you consider us, we are born into very privileged backgrounds. Like we're just going to have a completely different life. And what is it based on? Just look. That's all it is. It's all look. So his philosophy, his ideology, he takes it to an extreme, obviously, but he is correct. And so it would be interesting for him to, actually have that, see him have that ideology form, which, as you say, does happen in The Dark Knight. But in this movie, how does he get it? Well, he gets acid thrown in his face. That seems to be how every villain is created in this Batman quadrilogy. It's just something to do with acid, and they get dunked in acid. Acid's thrown. Yeah,
in remember when we had those that big wave of acid attacks in the UK, and everyone was freaking out about it. Maybe they were just massive Batman fans.
Yeah, maybe.
That's how you do it. Basically. Yeah. But, I mean, to be fair, Two-Face is. It was either that or getting his face dunked in gasoline and set on fire.
Oh yes, but that doesn't actually change his actual mental psyche.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's
directly. Obviously, it indirectly does, but yeah.
And in the Batman animated series, which is the true canon, he's already got he already struggles with schizophrenia, and there's a really good bit where he gets blackmailed by this mob boss, and the mob boss basically has got one over on him. He's like, I fooled you, Harvey, and then he's like, there's just one problem. You're talking to the wrong Harvey. And he kills the mob boss. It's really good. And then he runs away. Batman shows up Harvey, don't. He goes to run away. Then he gets blown up. And Batman's like, oh man, you got blown up. You're stupid. His face gets blown up. Yeah. It's a good show.
All right. It sounds great. Anyway, here's the problem that I have. Well, I have quite a few problems with Two-Face in this movie. What is his motivation for not liking Batman? Batman tried to save him, and he failed. Instead of blaming the mob boss, he blames Batman, who was there trying to save him. I don't really get his motivation there.
Who does have a motivation? Harvey Dent in the animated series, because he gets blown up while being chased by Batman. He has no motivation for hating Batman.
Here's the thing, Jim Carrey's motivation I think is weak, but this one just doesn't make sense for not liking Batman. It just doesn't make sense. But I think we now have to talk about Tommy Lee Jones's performance as Two-Face. So I think it would kind of work if he was super serious half the time and crazy the other half, but the problem is he's just crazy. He's not like an actual Two-Face. He's just mad. He was kind of like the Joker in this movie, like how he laughed. Yeah. It was like Joker-esque, and obviously Harvey Dent is not meant to be like the Joker. And Yeah, I'm just thinking back to his lair. Remember his lair, Michael?
I was thinking about that, the fact that his entire lair is like, it's like, that's the weird thing.
He puts in a lot of effort.
Yeah, because it's like half the room is one thing, half the room is the other. But the thing is, obviously, he's both people at the same time, all the time, but in like a way where, and you think like, oh, that would be really interesting, you know, maybe you're thinking about the old Gollum and Smeagol thing in the Peter Jackson films where he's talking to himself. But the thing is, in this film, it's like, the reason why he's both of them at the same time is because they're both like the same. Yeah. So, you know, it doesn't really work very well.
Yeah, he doesn't have a split personalities. It's just like the fact that he has two different sides to him means he's crazy all the time. That's how the logic works. Yeah. But yeah, obviously, there's another character in this movie, which is Jim Carrey, and I think you could argue that Tommy Lee Jones is trying to compete with Jim Carrey, and it doesn't really work because he's competing with Jim Carrey. And
yeah, you can't out Carrey the Carrey.
Yes, and that's why I think this whole performance is so ridiculous, because, you know, of who he was trying to compete with, and therefore I think this is probably the most embarrassing thing Tommy Lee Jones has ever done. What do you think?
It's true. Yeah, definitely. I think it was pretty embarrassing for him.
Yes. Okay, we shall now go on to Jim Carrey as the Riddler. So, here's the thing. I don't know why the Riddler, at the start, of course, he tries to convince Bruce Wayne to back his project. Why does he think Bruce Wayne and him are two of a kind, and that he would understand? He idolizes him, but why? They seem two very different people. An eccentric genius and just Bruce Wayne, who's like a normal guy in a suit who shakes people's hands and say, "Hey, I'll see you out on the golf course later." You know, that kind of humour. Rich white guy humour, that kind of thing. That's what the vibe I get from how Bruce Wayne portrays himself. So I don't see why the Riddler would think they're similar.
Yeah, well, the weird thing is, obviously in the Tim Burton films with Michael Keaton, Bruce Wayne also seems kind of crazy, as is touched on by that random reporter guy. He's like, oh, this guy's a bloody nutcase. He doesn't look like that at all. But so I feel like if this was the Michael Keaton thing, then you could kind of buy something like, oh yeah, this guy's pretty goofy. He's like, you know, I feel like you could imagine Michael Keaton being like an Elon Musk type of his time, you know, randomly tweeting just crazy incendiary shit, getting high with Joe Rogan, and Jim Carrey watching it like, I want to get high with Joe Rogan. We're the same person. But yeah, this version, he's just boring, you know, so yeah, there is no reason for him to be like, oh yeah, Bruce Wayne. Imagine if you did that like a real job, like you just had a job and like one day you meet the boss and like, I need to tell you my idea because you'll understand. I want to have sharks with freaking laser beams.
Yeah.
Different film.
It is, yeah, I know. But it is quite a weird thing. And obviously the motivation that he now hates Bruce Wayne because Bruce Wayne said no.
That just shows another example of the male entitlement a lot of these nerd types have. Yeah,
no, I agree completely. And obviously, it's like I said, it's pretty weak. It's like he just says, Jim Carrey says, well, I can't wait. And then Bruce Wayne's like, okay, then, no, fine then. Like, you gave him the ultimatum, Jim Carrey. Like, don't
yeah, I found that weird. He was like, yeah, I'll think about it. And he's like, no, I want to know now. And he's like, okay, then no. I mean, if you're going to like force my hand.
Yeah.
Like, maybe he would have agreed if he hadn't been so crazy.
Exactly. And then therefore he really doesn't like Bruce Wayne. He goes from idolizing him to not liking him and wanting to kill him. Just like that. Let's me click my fingers. And then after that, he decides to become a supervillain. So, yeah, a normal career choice, I guess. And then his thing, he has a really campy outfit. And obviously Joel Schumacher is gay. And so this is maybe a bit controversial, but he does seem he seems coded as gay. Like, more than campy.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking, because he's, I mean, queer coded, because obviously we know the context for queer coding. When I say we know, I mean, I heard somebody mention it recently, which is that there was like rules where heroic characters weren't allowed to act gay, and like, you know, moral guidelines that like, hey, if you've got a character, they can't, you know, act gay if they're a hero, and then because of that, like, okay, we'll just have all our gay characters be villains. I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically. But I think it's kind of the case of it is an unconscious trope, which is what it is probably by the 90s. Because, you know, I mean, Ursula from The Little Mermaid, she was, oh boy.
Yeah. I think of that, and it is a trope, isn't it? That I guess this movie was just another part of it. I just think there are some scenes where he doesn't seem that gay, but there are some scenes like at the end where I think he's got a pink suit on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I was thinking, yeah, okay, this does, and like he's dyed his hair as well. It's like, yeah, I think it wouldn't be too far to say he is coded as gay. Interestingly, by the way, do you know who was considered for this role before Jim Carrey?
I'm trying to think of like a really gay person, but no, I don't. Who?
Michael Jackson.
Oh, wow, that's dodgy.
Yeah, that would have been fun, wouldn't it? I guess on Jim Carrey's performance in this movie, there is a lot of Jim Carrey in this movie. And
yes,
it is kind of like any of his other movies, to be honest. He is just Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah. It is true. It's less of a Batman film and more of a Jim Carrey film.
Yeah,
like, imagine if Batman was just in Dumb and Dumber. You'd be like, it's already feel much of a Batman film. That's basically what this film's like.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't feel like he's different to his other movies. He just feels like the same thing. And of course, when you get Jim Carrey, you expect him to be Jim Carrey, and this was obviously when he was at his most popular. So obviously, you're not going to tune him down. You're going to have him be, at his most Jim Carreyest. But yeah, it is weird looking back on it, and I will say it is annoying because I don't think he's that funny. So there you go.
I was going to have a great theory, but I realised it really doesn't work at all because this was in 1995, which is basically almost at the beginning of Jim Carrey. I was thinking maybe the fact that this film was considered quite bad led to him appearing in other films like The Truman Show and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But really, that would work better because I'm pretty sure all the big films he did were in '94, and they did this in '95.
Yeah,
Truman Show was '98. So yeah, I don't know. Let's just pretend I'm right though. And then obviously he did The Grinch. Remember that?
Yes,
we did that.
I remember that. And
he wore a green suit in that as well.
He did indeed. Yes, and he was coded as gay in that movie as well. So obviously,
next villain.
No. So obviously we've been.
There's not another villain.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously we have been talking about the two villains, and they got along in the movie, didn't they? Until Two-Face decided to crash the Riddler's party, but they worked it out in the end as well. And the friends right to the bitter end were Two-Face and the Riddler, but that was not the case in real life with the actors Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey. It's a well-known story, obviously. This was on the Howard Stern show, where Jim Carrey was asked about his time on the set with Tommy Lee Jones. Howard Stern asked him, when you were doing Batman Forever, when you were making that, the legend goes that you were on the set fighting with Tommy Lee Jones the whole time. The two of you did not get along. You annoyed him, he annoyed you. The comedian did not deny the claims and reflected back to his time filming the superhero movie. He says, I think what happened was, I was really looking forward to working with Tommy because he's a fantastic actor and he still is to me. I mean, he's amazing, but he was a little crusty. Carrey said, going on to joke about Jones' Ivy League education. Sometimes the Rhodes Scholarship is more of a weapon than an asset. I think he was just a little freaked out because Dumb and Dumber came out the same weekend as Cobb, and Cobb was his big swing for the fences, and that didn't work out. That freaked him out a bit, I think, the actor continued. So, maybe a bit of jealousy on Tommy Lee Jones's part. See,
that would be a better motivation. It's ironic that Tommy Lee Jones had a better motivation in the actual villain he played.
That's true.
I'll tell you what, the problem is, one stupid comedy about two idiots succeeds, while my film doesn't.
Yeah.
How is that fair?
Yeah, that is a good motivation, isn't it? Any suspicions Carrey had that Jones felt negatively about him were confirmed one night during the filming of Batman Forever. I walked into a restaurant the night before our big scene in the Riddler's lair, and the maitre d' said, "You're working with Tommy Lee Jones, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "He's in the back corner, he's having dinner." I said, "Oh great, I'll go say hi," Carrey told Stern. I went up to say hi, and the blood drained from his face in such a way that I realised that I had become the face of his pain or something. He got up, kind of shaking, and hugged me and said, "I hate you. I really don't like you." I was like, wow, okay, well, what's going on, man? And he said, "I cannot sanction your buffoonery."
Just such a classic line.
Did not want to work with me at that point. I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
It's just so great.
Oh my god. Oh, that is, you know what? Here's the thing. Tommy Lee Jones, a bit of a dick maybe for not liking Jim Carrey, being a bit jealous and having just a crusty attitude. But that line, "I cannot sanction his buffoonery," that just brings me back onto Tommy Lee Jones's side. Yeah,
it's true. Isn't that sometimes how you feel about me in this podcast?
No.
You can't really sanction my buffoonery. Like when I start to tell a joke and then I don't really know where the punchline's going to be, so I just say something really stupid instead.
That's not really buffoonery though, is it?
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you, Luke.
It's kind of worse.
I'm appreciative. It's funny to me.
Okay. That's the story. That's the famous story that came out, and it is such a great story. And that's the thing. You can't imagine them getting on in real life, can you? Because they are completely different. And you just think about Tommy Lee Jones playing the character he plays, and it doesn't work. And he does feel like a discount version of Jim Carrey. And that must have pissed him off. Like, he's doing his best weird impression, and there's just Jim Carrey being a Jim Carrey. And that must be like, oh, fucking hell, this guy Well, number one.
Yeah, a bit like Superintendent Chalmers and Ned Flanders, when Ned Flanders is making his principal puns, and then is like, let's say I just want to put the POW in principal, and he's like, and I want to put the super in superintendent.
Yeah, that's great.
It's the same basic joke. What gives?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I that's the thing. He must be pissed off for two reasons. Number one, this guy's being more successful than him, and number two, like, I'm trying to, do what he's doing, and I just can't match him. It must have really annoyed him, and
must have really triggered him.
Yes, it must have really triggered him indeed. But thankfully, I think he has actually had a better career than Jim Carrey, wouldn't you say? He's outlasted.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Jim Carrey was. The thing with his act is it's going to be a fad. It's going to get annoying eventually. I would suggest it would get annoying after like one movie, but apparently not. But eventually it did get annoying, and he did have a comeback with Sonic the Hedgehog, obviously. But yeah,
oh yeah, it was so good. I haven't seen it.
yeah, definitely.
I just assume it was good.
Yeah, I think it won't be controversial to see Tommy Lee Jones has had the career that is superior for sure. Okay, shall we get into Batman now?
Yes, let's get on to Batman. Then. I have one problem with the casting of this film, Luke, and it's that Batman has one rule. He doesn't kill me.
You know what, Michael? I just cannot sanction this buffoonery.
Because he's called Val Kilmer, and Batman's one rule is he doesn't kill. Yeah. He doesn't kill Martha.
No, he doesn't. Val Kilmer plays Batman, the one and only appearance from him, and it's very good actually for him that he did not play Batman in Batman and Robin. Otherwise, he would be known as like the really shit Batman. Thankfully, he decided to not perform with Batman and Robin. But yeah, Val Kilmer. How good a Batman is he, Michael, compared to Christian Bale, Michael Keaton, George Clooney, and even Ben Affleck? Where do you rank him?
He's really boring, and he doesn't give any impression at all, which I guess means he kind of just doesn't look like a real human being. He just looks like generic actor man.
Yeah.
And overall, I think based on that, he's probably the worst.
Well,
I mean,
well, you say
Adam
that.
West, all the other ones are pretty goofy.
Oh yeah, not counting Adam West.
All the other ones are quite distinctive. Yeah. But,
yeah, Adam West is a completely different thing. I'm not counting him, but here is the issue though, Michael. Val Kilmer, I mean, he plays Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is an absolute robot in this movie. And but I think maybe that's what Batman would be like in real life. Maybe that is the most realistic portrayal. That the guy has just got so many demons locked away that he's just like completely normal throughout the day, seems completely boring, and he has to seem like that. Otherwise, I mean, that's the only way he can psychologically cope with being Batman. That he's just completely boring.
I kind of see where you're coming from. I mean, because a lot of the other times he's like the millionaire playboy. But would you really be like that if you'd. And
that
also, like, apparently Batman did all these like weird meditation things in the mountain. You think that would make you a bit of a weirdo too?
Yeah, that is true. That's the thing. You think about Christian Bale or George Clooney, their Batman is more like charming, and if you were doing what Batman did, you wouldn't really. I mean, maybe the thing is with Christian Bale, it's all a show and it's all fake. But yeah, it's
no. You're thinking of American Psycho.
This is the thing. I genuinely think like a Batman would maybe be like this in real life, and it is quite boring, but it is a realistic portrayal. I do think that.
Yeah, especially because like basically Batman's whole thing is he's kind of obsessive. Like you think about Tony Stark. He's basically just really smart and then he lets his technology deal with everything. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like Batman's the kind of guy who he has to give 100% in his fighting. Like Tony Stark can be casual about things. I'm just comparing Batman to Tony Stark's like billionaire like fighters. Tony Stark can be like casual because he's just like, oh yeah, I've got like rockets, and he doesn't really have any issues about not giving his best. Right? I feel like Batman's the kind of person who's like always been like, you're overextending yourself, Master Wayne. And he's like, I've got to, Alfred. I've got to make sure I get everything I can to stop these evil things. And you just can't imagine that guy being like, yeah, drinks on me at a cocktail party. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, again, like maybe
I get where you're coming from.
That person,
but still, it is boring to watch. I will agree with you that it might actually be what Batman would really be like. Mm-hmm. But I mean, to be fair, maybe he wouldn't feel that boring if he was doing more interesting stuff. Because that's the thing. This film kind of does feel very boring. And therefore, well, not, I wouldn't say, obviously, like, boring's a bit, because there is lots of stuff going on. But this film, it doesn't really leave you with, like, an impression of, yeah, loads of stuff happened. And therefore, you can't really, like, I can't really remember him doing anything. When I try and imagine him doing something, or when I try and imagine in this film, I just imagine him standing around, like, doing nothing.
Yeah, I remember when I think of him in this movie, I think of him sitting on the couch with, fucking Nicole Kidman. That's how I picture him. And to be honest, that's quite interesting, getting into his psyche. But yeah, maybe not the best Batman, but I don't honestly think his performance was bad. I think it was it was okay. And here's the thing, though. He does kill Two-Face at the end. So he tells Robin not to kill him, but he kills Two-Face by making him fall off the beam he was balanced on. by flipping a coin at him. Because, Two-Face is like a cat when a shiny object dangles in front of him. He must go for all the coins.
That is true.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine, apparently. There's no moral dilemma there that he just causes.
Yeah. Is it basically, yeah. He should have, he should have swung out and rescued him and gone, you've been rescued.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a real loophole in his morality, I'd say. But yeah, Val Kilmer just, I guess the least memorable Batman. Would that be fair to say? Out of all of them?
Yes. Yeah, definitely the least memorable. He kind of feels like that one guy who played James Bond, but only played him for one film.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even remember. Roger Deakins?
Yeah, back in the 70s, I think. Early 70s. Yeah, just one.
I feel like I just mentioned the cinematographer. It's someone else, but similar.
Yeah, but no, I remember there was that one. I can't remember his name. George Clooney, the contract wasn't working. Not George Clooney. What's he called? Sean Connery.
Sean Connery. Sorry, yeah.
Sean Connery, the contract wasn't worked out, so this guy stepped in to play him, and then Sean Connery was back for the next movie. That's how it worked. But anyway, that's Val Kilmer. Not very memorable, but not that awful, I'd say. Nicole Kidman now, who plays...
Timothy Dalton, I think.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, no, George Lazenby.
That was it, George Lazenby. That was it. Yeah, George Lazenby, that was it. Yeah, you're right. Nicole Kidman now, Michael.
Yes.
That she plays Chase Meridian, and she is important in this movie because she is constantly trying to have sex with Batman, and then decides not to. She is the ultimate tease, Michael, isn't she?
Yeah.
The thing is,
I found this so boring. Like, this was my least favourite. Like, the whole romance thing, it just felt completely... And I don't know, you have to compare it to, like, Selena Kyle in Batman Returns, where it just feels, like, way more authentic. In this version, it literally feels like... I don't know. The whole time, it feels like she's just decided to be obsessed with Batman, and Batman's like Batman's main motivation for being interested in her is just like, oh wow, this is going to be really easy. It's like if you just found out like some girl inexplicably had a massive crush on you, and you're like, well, I don't really, I'm not that into her, but if she's that into me, then I might as well just go for it because it's so little effort. That's basically what this romance felt like to me. Just like, oh, she's into me? Yeah, she's pretty hot. Yeah, I'll go for it. It's not like I had a bit of any effort.
I mean, the romance with Bruce Wayne, I think, was decent as I've talked about. The romance with Batman, it's just like, doesn't he look hot? I think she says at one time, like, his suit. Like, apparently the suit is attractive. But yeah, I think with Nicole Kidman, I will give this movie a positive. She isn't just a damsel in distress like Vicky Vale.
That is true.
In the original Batman. She isn't at the end, of course, but I guess so is Robin. That's the dilemma that the Riddler sets up. She actually... as mentioned, has some informative things to say on Bruce Wayne's psychology that do help him. So she isn't just there, for him to save. She actually is involved with, the character of Bruce Wayne. And so I guess, is that a plus, Michael? Is that a very...
Yeah, you know what, it is a plus. Very, very woke that she's not a damsel in distress. And also, I think she did work slightly more as a thing for a character study. But overall, I think... I didn't really feel the chemistry, even though I feel like, I guess it was because it was too analytic, it kind of took away any element of it feeling like there was a real emotional connection, because it was just like,
Yeah.
She was like, oh yeah, I can help you understand why you're a weirdo, but I don't know about anything else.
Yeah, you're a real wacko, aren't you? I can get to the bottom of that. Okay, so that's Nicole Kidman as Meridian Chase, or Chase Meridian, however you say it. Next we got a character, again, that didn't really need to be in this movie, and I think is part of the reason why it's so fucked, along with the fact that there's two villains, which is Robin, who's a member of an acrobatic troupe called the Flying Graysons, and they all die, Michael. They all So obviously his parents and his brother die. He doesn't seem that beat up about it, to be honest, does Dick Grayson. But anyway, apparently in Gotham City, this is what I found hilarious about it. This is why this character is so funny to me. That this is what happens in Gotham, that after your parents die, you have to go and live with Bruce Wayne. I mean, is that what happens to every orphan in the city? When they lose their parents, they go and live with this single male billionaire and his creepy butler.
Well, the other weird thing is he seems pretty old. Like, how old is he supposed to be?
I was going to get onto that, but can we just focus on the fact that this is what the commissioner or the police guy or the mayor decides to do? He decides to put fucking this kid with, again, a single male billionaire. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's actually pretty. It's pretty dodgy.
Some Epstein vibes potentially going on there.
Yeah, imagine having to, your parents die and then you have to live with Trump. That would just be horrible. No.
This is apparently that's the orphan policy in Gotham. You can go to an orphanage or you can live with Bruce Wayne. You gotta pick which one.
No, there might be other billionaires. I mean, I don't know if there are other billionaires in Gotham. Yeah. I would assume they've got a decent few billionaires. It's
that's the thing.
So maybe it's like you get your choice of billionaire, or they kind of get their choice of you. So it's kind of like the jury duty, but for billionaires.
They get your choice with you. Called up. They get your choice with you. Okay. That's the thing. Like, we know Bruce Wayne's a good guy, right? But if you didn't know and you just read this story, then it'd be like, bit creepy. That's what I thought. But as you mentioned, Michael, obviously he's not 18 yet in this actual movie, but the actor looks about 25.
He looks so old.
Did you see that Matt Gaetz thing earlier this week? Did you?
No.
Okay, so there's this congressman in America called Matt Gaetz who got called out by a black person who said, "You don't know what it's like to raise a black son," and he fired back saying, "No, I do. I know how to raise I
recognize
a person of you know, the guy with the really wide chin." He said, "No, I do know how to raise, well, not a black son, but a son who is of colour. I have a son called Nestor who is Cuban, legal, of course." He put in brackets in a tweet, and he's 19 years old, and just there was a few hours when everybody was just laughing at this 32-year-old congressman having a large adult son called Nestor, who was 19 years old, who apparently he had adopted from Cuba. It didn't turn out that was the case, but yeah, I just thought of that when Dick Grayson went to live with Bruce Wayne. Like, this is my large adult son who looks like he's 25. He's called Dick Grayson.
That is so funny. Like, have you ever noticed that condition where people mature slowly? There's like a horror film about it where there's like this woman who she's actually like 30, but she looks like a little kid, and also she's a psychopath. But like this family unwittingly adopts her, thinking she's a kid, and then the twist at the end is, oh no, it turns out she was actually an adult woman the whole time. Isn't that creepy? Basically, imagine that, but like the opposite.
Yeah.
Where it's like you gotta like live with this kid, and you gotta like kind of discipline them and like eat your vegetables, but then they're like just a big full-grown man.
Well, that was what it was like with Nestor and Matt Gaetz. It was like, this guy's like a fully grown man, and this, if there was some accusations, oh yeah, sure he's your son. Yeah, there was this great line on Wikipedia where it was like, Matt Gaetz introduced a man who he called his son, and the son was in like quotation marks, called
That's
Nestor. Yeah, it was a funny story, and I think it is relevant to Dick Grayson going to be getting adopted by Bruce Wayne, when like Bruce Wayne is probably Val Kilmer in this movie was like 8 years older probably than the actor who played Dick Grayson. But anyway, I think we got to get on to, well, those two bits are strange. The fact that he has to live with Bruce Wayne and his age, but also Dick Grayson's superhero name. How did he get it, Michael? Do you remember?
Because he's got a robin on his helmet.
But how did he get that robin on his helmet?
Oh, because he swoops in to save the day like a robin.
And what is often said when people swoop in to save someone? You came in like a robin. That's true. That's pretty common, isn't it? That's what people say.
That is the expression.
Not like, oh, you came in like, I don't know, like a hawk or a falcon, like an actual fast bird. No, you came in like a robin. Because robins are known for being really fast and swooping in. That's something that robins are known for.
Yeah, that's true. But see, it could have been because he saved someone from a fire, and then his chest was burned, and he was oh, that red chest, you look like you flew in, and with that red chest you look like a robin, and he'd go, wow, that's sure is contrived, but at least it makes sense.
Yeah, almost as contrived as the end of The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, see, that's the thing. Like his name just being Robin, because
his name is actually Dick Grayson.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, like I can see, or maybe like I definitely feel like if you want to have your character be called Robin, the easiest way to do it would be to have them in some way be associated with the name Robin. Like maybe a kid would be like, hey, or like talking to his mum maybe before she dies, you'd be like, you were always my miracle. When I prayed to God to get pregnant, and then this little robin came down, and I thought it was a guardian angel, and then the next day I found out I was pregnant with you. I wanted to call you Robin, but your dad didn't like that name. He wanted to call you Dick instead. Because your dad didn't think it was a robin that made me pregnant. He thought it was his dick.
Wow. It's like, wow, yeah, that could be good, but
that's a pretty good explanation.
Well, he didn't. His middle name's Robin, and he's called Dick Grayson. But
that's the slightly more boring way.
He doesn't want to go by Dick because he gets bullied at school. So he's like, Robin.
Hey, Dick. Have you considered being called Robin? It's like, yeah.
Make your life a lot easier, pal. Anyway, I think we should get on to well, I mean, it is the greatest scene in film history, perhaps, or the greatest minute where he does some laundry.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I did like it.
And we mentioned it before, but what I love about this is you see this scene in isolation, and I did see it after Joel Schumacher died as like, oh, look at this incredible scene that was actually in a movie. But the thing is, there is no setup to the scene where he's...
I know, yeah.
He literally just walks in doing laundry. Like, him and Alfred aren't having a conversation about his parents or Two-Face or anything like that, how he's doing. It's literally like the scene was just set up so he could do laundry in a weird way. Which I just find hilarious.
It's weird because usually films struggle to have characters have things to do while they're doing exposition.
Yes.
Whereas in this case, you have a character who's got something to do and they don't even have anything to say.
Exactly.
It's like the opposite to what usually happens.
I would love to know who thought of that idea. It's just an incredible take. They must have been on drugs. And I like, by the way, when Robin finds the Batmobile, his first thought is to go and find some prostitutes. Think he's
naturally.
Batman. Yeah, of course. It doesn't ask any questions. It doesn't, oh my god, this fucking guy, this billionaire's the Batman. He's like, oh, I can fucking get laid with this. Wonderful stuff. And remember the gang that he finds? That
the cool neon gang.
Yeah, capture a kill. They're wearing skeletal makeup and they're fighting with strobe lights. Again, whose decision was that, Michael? I can't imagine that was I just can't imagine someone come up with that. Like, this is apparently a very scary gang. I mean, maybe they had to be wearing makeup and having strobe lights because otherwise it wouldn't be family friendly. How about that?
Yeah, that is true. Like, I would definitely, if I was going to get attacked by some people, I'd like them to have makeup and strobe lights. I think I'd go, oh, neat.
Yeah,
at least it's pretty.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's Robin. I just think the thing is, obviously, people talk about Jim Carrey in this movie and the weird performance from Tommy Lee Jones. And the general campiness of this movie, but I think just Robin's story is just, and what he does in this movie is very weird, and I think that needs to be noted. Very underrated aspect of how fucking weird this movie is the Robin segment. But yeah, is that it? Got anything more to say?
No, I don't.
So do you want to conclude first?
About one. I said one instead of Robin. Yes, I will conclude. So this film is a thing, and it's kind of difficult to talk about because it kind of feels, a lot of the other films we've looked at, I have a clearer sense of what they are and what's happening, and I guess in that sense they bothered me more. I didn't find this film oppressively boring. I did find this film kind of stupid, and I think it would actually go quite well next to I think I could see this being next to above Phantom Menace. Maybe that's weird, but I just feel like Phantom Menace has also had some pretty stupid stuff. But then I guess I don't hate watching Phantom Menace, but I'll say it's a little bit above it because maybe I thought there was some more fun elements in it, and I did enjoy like some of the goofier things. So it's still a 2 out of 10, but it's a high 2. So
okay,
there you go.
I don't think I'm going to be as harsh. I think this is a 2.5 out of 10, and. Yeah, I think it's quite shit, isn't it? There's just so many things that don't make sense, and it's like over the top. And there's a great story actually. That phrase triggered something in my mind about Joel Schumacher, which I saw on Twitter this week. Apparently, there was this actor who was telling a story about Joel Schumacher, and he said that an actress he was working with complained that he was being over the top, and Joel Schumacher apparently replied, "Oh, honey, people don't go to see movies for under the top," or something to that effect. So there you go. That's another story about Joel Schumacher. An icon, that is for sure. But anyway, this movie, this was actually over the top. So yeah, maybe that ruins that theory. And too much was stuffed in, too many characters. And yeah, it's just really shit. And the only good thing about it is the character of Batman and, figuring out what he wants to do for the rest of his life. That is interesting, but like we said, other superhero movies have done it, but at least it's in there. So that's why I'm giving it a 2.5. And yeah, I think obviously this movie there is a lot of love for this movie because a lot of people grew up with this. I didn't, obviously, but like a lot of people really like this movie because it was a part of their childhood. Kind of like, I guess, The Phantom Menace was for us, Michael. Kind of the same thing, if you get me.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So people do like it, and it is a mess, but it's not, like you said, oppressively bad. It's not oppressively bad, but yeah, it is just quite shit at the end of the day. And that sums it up, really. And I think it would probably be panned more and remembered more for being a bad movie if it wasn't for the sequel, Batman and Robin. Because Batman and Robin is possibly the best thing that ever happened to this movie. People probably forget that this movie's pretty bad because of Batman and Robin.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's the thing. This film gets remembered as like the one that isn't as bad. It's kind of like how M. Night Shyamalan's entire career after Signs retroactively made Signs look pretty good.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So, Michael, what are we doing next week?
Well, I was going to be really funny and go from one film with loads of neon in it to another. We're doing Showgirls, but Showgirls is old news, Luke. Mm-hmm. It's old news, old snooze. Instead, we're going to be looking at a classic. And when I say classic, I mean the opposite. Because it's new. 365 days. Everyone's talking about it, and we're going to talk about it too.
Yeah.
Because we have things to say.
Yes, we do. I decided to change it to 365 days because it is an interesting movie. Let's put it at that. And it is on Netflix, so I can watch it really easily.
Exactly.
Yeah, but no, that's the thing. Nobody will remember it in a few months, but it is a very interesting movie. So I thought, might as well do it now while it's still kind of in the news. So yeah, that'll be next week. But yeah, we have been selecting and reflecting on Batman Forever because the 25-year anniversary of its release. Join us next week for 365 days. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening and goodbye.
Goodbye. Let's stop the old recording.
That's what she said.